Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we are going to be taking a look, and I'm going to be giving my thoughts and opinions on the first Tampa Bay Buccaneers depth chart release. There are a few interesting things to, I guess, gain from taking a look at this depth chart, in my opinion, and I wanted to give my own thoughts and opinions about it. If you guys are new, by the way, go ahead and subscribe. We are on the road to 20K. A lot of people said they like the Mike Evans road to 1,000 yards tracker up there on the top right-hand side. I like it as well. I think it is a very fun addition, and thank you to everybody who has subscribed to the channel recently. It really does mean a lot. Now, firstly, talking about the offensive side of things for this depth chart, there aren't really many major surprises. You have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin as your two starting outside wide receivers, right? Right now, as it stands, Trey Palmer is listed as the wide receiver 3 with Jalen McMillan behind him. The two outside receiving backups are Raheem Jarrett and Sterling Shepard. You then have a few different guys in that mix. Cephas Johnson, Ryan Miller, Rayleigh Webb are the next line of backups. After that, you have got Latrell Jones, Cody Thompson, Tanner New, and Cameron Johnson behind those guys as well. And I feel like if you had to pick 6 guys that were going to be 6 wide receivers that would make this roster, I think you could feel pretty good about it being Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Trey Palmer, Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard, and Raheem Jarrett. No disrespect to the other guys that are still battling for a spot. Like, they've all had some good moments as well, but just taking a look at this depth chart also, it gives a bit of a nod, a bit of a tip of the hand, so to speak, as to what the Bucs are feeling in their wide receiver room. In terms of the tight end position, there is a little bit of a surprise here. Kadon is your tight end. Payne Durham is listed as your tight end 2. Keith is listed as your tight end 3. Then after that, in the other category, you've literally got everybody else. You've got Devin Culp, Tanner Tuula, David Wells, and Sal Cannella. Now, I feel like this will change over the course of the preseason. I still genuinely believe guys like Devin Culp and Sal Cannella may be in that mix to make that roster over a Keith, especially like Devin Culp. I feel like he will make this roster and will give a push for that second tight end spot. It was interesting, though, to see Payne Durham as that number 2 tight end. No surprises at quarterback, by the way. Mayfield's your starter, Trask is your backup, Wolford is your third, and Zach Annexstad, who a lot of people forget about him. He's unfortunately been hurt and hasn't been able to practice with the team, which is why we haven't been able to talk about him. But an undrafted free agent quarterback out of Illinois State are the other quarterbacks there. At the running back position, this one isn't too surprising, but you have Rachaad White, you have Chase Edmonds as the number 2, Bucky Irving as the number 3. Then right now, the guy in the lead for number 4, according to this list, is Sean Tucker. He's at the top of the other category, which I read that as, you know, being at the top of the, you know, it's in order with how they view it. So, like, for example, Devin Culp is at the top of the other category for that tight end room. I assume that means like he's the 4th tight end on the depth chart going forward. Sean Tucker's the 4th running back right now, with DJ Williams and Ramon Jefferson behind him. DJ Williams actually ahead of Ramon Jefferson, which is a little surprising for me to see. I feel like Ramon Jefferson's done a very good job in training camp, but maybe the Buccaneers want to see more of what DJ Williams can do as a power back. I don't know. But that's going to be another interesting situation to see shake out. Honestly, like, could the Bucs just carry 3 running backs? I don't know. Maybe that's a legitimate question where they just have a 3-headed trio attack of White, Edmonds, and Irving, and then decide to use that extra roster spot for something else. Might be a legitimate question going forward. On the offensive line side of things, left tackle, Wirfs is your starter, School is your backup. After that, you have Silas Danzy as your 3rd, and Lorenz Metz. I originally thought he was going to be playing guard. I believe that was according to a depth chart released by ESPN, but that depth chart was wrong because the Bucs have him listed as a tackle. Makes sense. The dude is 6'9", 300-something pounds. He is built like a tackle, so that is very interesting there. Robert Hainsey is listed as the starting center. Graham Barton is the backup. Avery Jones is the 3rd. At right guard, you have Cody Mock. Behind him, You've got Elijah Klein. You have nobody else at the guard position there. At right tackle, you've got Luke Gedeke as your starter, Brandon Walton as your backup, and Luke Haggard as your third. Now, Brandon Walton can play both tackle positions, and I believe he can play a little bit of guard as well. The Bucs do love versatility in their offensive line. I saved left guard for last because Ben Bredeson is your starter. That is expected, right? I do believe he is going to be the starter going forward. But the backup is listed as Xavier Delgado, an undrafted free agent out of Missouri at 6'4", 329 pounds. He signed as an undrafted free agent on May 10th, and he is listed as the primary backup with nobody else listed as backup left guard or right guard for that matter, by the way, here on this initial depth chart. The Bucs have 4 guards on this list, which is very interesting to me. Will the Bucs maybe add depth at that interior offensive line later on down the line? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. But right now, they only have 4 guys listed at the guard position, whereas in terms of tackles, they have 7. So it's very interesting to see there. And you've also got 3 centers as well. Maybe Avery Jones can bounce around a little bit and maybe play a little bit guard if you need him to, but that's not what they have him listed as. The undrafted free agent rookie out of Auburn is listed as a center on this depth chart, where if you check on the website, he's listed as a guard. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But he's 6'4", 307 pounds. He might be an option in there as well. But shout out Xavier Delgado, listed as the primary backup left guard behind Ben Bredeson. But that's pretty much it for the offensive side of things. Looking at the defensive side of things, there's some interesting stuff in this mix as well. Let's start off with the defensive line. Firstly, your starters, Kalijah Kancey, Vita Vea, and Logan Hall. And I feel like this was the expectation, right? And I don't want to disrespect Logan Hall here, but like, would it have been super surprising if Will Golston was listed the starter instead of Hall? I don't think so. I don't think that would have been a crazy thing to see at all. But right now, Golston is listed as Logan Hall's backup. Behind Kalijah Kancey and Vita Vea, you have Mike Green as the other defensive end behind Kancey. Your backup nose tackle right now is Greg Gaines. We've talked about Gaines a lot here on the channel. He has a lot of versatility in terms of playing defensive end or nose tackle in this defense as well. Your third defensive linemen are Judge Culpepper, CJ Brewer, Eric Banks. Behind them, you have Iwal Uguak, and you also have, I just butchered that name, sorry man, apologies to everybody, but Ernest Brown is also in the other category on the defensive line as well. I'm just going to call him Elwal. Elwal is in there as well. At the linebacking position, you have some other interesting things to note here. First things first, KJ Britt is listed as the number 2 linebacker right now, opposite of Lavonte David. Again, something that a lot of people expected, but just kind of get more confirmation going forward. Yaya Diaby is one of your starting outside linebackers. He is right now dealing with an ankle sprain. He's going to be out for probably most of the preseason, but hopefully he's going to be good to go in week 1. Your other starting outside linebacker is Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. Again, a lot of pressure on this group. A lot of pressure, in my opinion, to generate pressure at a high level in Diaby, in JTS. Those guys are going to have a lot to prove whenever the regular season does roll around. Behind them, Yaya Diaby's backup is Anthony Nelson. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka's backup is Chris Braswell. Not too surprising there. In the third category, you've got Marquise Watt and you've got Jose Ramirez, 2 young developmental guys that the Bucs have kind of been cultivating for a few years now. Behind those guys in the other category, you've got Daniel Grislak and you've got Sean Peterson Jr. and Jay Person, who the Bucs just signed to this team. He's an edge rusher, according to the Bucs. I was wrong. In fact, shout out to a couple of you who commented saying, why don't they play him at edge? Looks like they're going to start playing him at edge. So I was completely wrong in my assessment of that. Apologies for that. At inside linebacker, the 2 KJ Britt's backup is Servassier Dennis. Crazy interesting note here, in my opinion. Kalen DeLoach is listed as the backup to Lavonte David. Not J.J. Russell, not V. Jones, not even Antonio Greer Jr. J.J. Russell and V. Jones are in the third category. Antonio Greer Jr. is in the other. That's huge news for Kalen DeLoach, in my opinion. I think that that's great news for anybody who wants to see DeLoach make this roster. And right now he's kind of tabbed as that fourth linebacker according to this list. With Russell and Jones behind him, can that change? Yes. But the fact that they've already put this young man, this rookie, this undrafted rookie free agent, in this mix as that fourth linebacker at 6'1", 212 pounds, like, that might be one of the more surprising things I've seen on the depth chart so far today. So shout out to Kalen DeLoach. A lot of love for him here as that fourth linebacker. Moving into the secondary position, a couple of other interesting things in here, in my opinion. Jamel Dean and Zion McCollum are your outside cornerbacks to start. That's no surprise. Jamel Dean's backup is Bryce Hall. The backup behind Zion McCollum is Josh Hayes, which is really interesting to me to have him be labeled as an outside cornerback. Josh Hayes, 6 feet tall, 190 pounds. We haven't talked about Josh Hayes a lot since he was drafted, but it seems like he's done a little bit of everything, right? Playing special teams, playing a bit of safety, and now might be getting a chance as an outside cornerback. Very interesting to be in that mix as well. After that, in the third category, you've got Keenan Isaac, you've got Tyreek Funderburk. We've talked about Funderburk a lot here on the channel. Behind those guys, you've got Chris McDonald, and you've got Andrew Hayes. But Josh Hayes, another very interesting thing here to see him listed as an outside cornerback. Maybe it's a hybrid type of thing, but I was surprised they did not have him listed as a safety. Speaking of safeties, let's talk about that real quick. Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jordan Whitehead are your starters. After that, you have Kayvon Merriweather and Christian Izien. Not too surprising in regards to that. They did say that Izien was going to be playing a lot more in terms of the safety position, so not too surprising there. Tavier Thomas listed as a safety. Now, I don't know if he's ever going to see any true snaps at safety, but very interesting that the Bucs depth chart has him listed as a safety here. A lot of people view him as a nickel cornerback, myself included. I think he's looked very good as a nickel cornerback. This listing does not mean he's not going to play nickel cornerback, but I do wonder if we will see him rotate at some point in that safety room going forward, maybe in preseason, maybe in training camp, whatever it may be. Tavier Thomas listed as a safety, very surprising. Tyke Smith is also in that third category with TT. That's not too surprising. He was also listed as a safety as well coming out of the NFL draft. He will also be in that battle for nickel cornerback with Tavier Thomas and Christian Izien. Finally, you have Marcus Banks and Rashad Wisdom as your final safeties there in that other category. Finishing it off here at special teams, folks, no surprises in terms of punting and kicking. It's Jake Camarda and Chase McLaughlin. In terms of long snapper, it's Zach Triner and Evan Deckers. Here's where it gets a little bit of interesting here. Your starting punt returners, Trey Palmer. Your starting kick returners are Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker. Very interesting options there. Now, they have a lot of other guys listed on here. Cameron Johnson is listed on here a good bit. He has a good amount of returning experience. He is an undrafted rookie free agent from Barton College. DJ Williams is also listed on there. Raheem Jarrett, Ramon Jefferson, Jalen McMillan, Latrell Jones. Like a lot of undrafted guys or backup type players are listed there. But the starting guys are what's interesting to me. Trey Palmer is your starting punt returner. I'd be very curious to see how that goes. Bucky Irving is your starting kick returner. That's what a lot of people projected his initial role was going to be with the Buccaneers. I don't think that's going to be his only role, which is what those same people were alluding to, but he is also going to be possibly handling kickoff duties as well. So shout out to the punt and kick returning, Trey Palmer, Bucky Irving, and Sean Tucker, which is very interesting. He doesn't, in my opinion, I didn't really know Sean Tucker was kind of built for returning at 5'10", 205 pounds, but maybe he is. I don't know. Those guys are your labeled starting returners. So some very interesting things to note here, man. Shout out Kalen DeLoach. Shout out Josh Hayes. Shout out Xavier Delgado. Shout out Trey Palmer and Bucky Irving. Some interesting things to glean from this depth chart, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions about this. What do you guys think about it? Let me know your thoughts and opinions about this down in the comments section below. What do you agree with on this depth chart? What do you disagree with? Really, there aren't a ton of things that I'm like, oh, why is this guy labeled this? I'm surprised by some things. Tavier Thomas being listed at safety, that's surprising. Josh Hayes being an outside cornerback, that is surprising. Kalen DeLoach is the 4th linebacker to start over J.J. Russell v. Jones. That is surprising. But, like, nothing where I'm like, that's weird. What's going on here? Shout out Zach Annexstad. Why not? You know, we don't get to talk about Zach Annexstad. Shout out to him, the 4th quarterback on the Bucs. People forget about him. But let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions about this depth chart. I would love to hear it. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. As always, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.